Hello and welcome to another episode of Friday Night Knits. My name is Rachel. I am your host. I thought I'd start off with a little bit of a different format just to make this a little bit more formal because I am really getting into filming these episodes. Hopefully I can stick to this weekly schedule, but life happens because I am a wife, a mother, a teacher, and I also love to knit and crochet. So if that is something you are interested in, stay tuned for further details about my incredible experience this week, as well as some potential plans. And I am going to Rhineback. And so I'm so excited and I want to discuss that with you. So first things first, I am currently, how can I say this? I am overcoming this loss of knitting mojo. And it wasn't as bad as a couple months ago. A couple months ago, I had a knitting mojo issue where I just could not get this motivation to work on any project. I don't know if because I was doing so many test knits or gift knits, who knows, whatever the reason is or was, I could not actually get myself motivated to work on some projects. So it took some time. And by the end of my reflection and going back and forth, I finally got my spirit back. But then I started to see it start to dip again. And recently, I thought, and when I say recently, I mean like last weekend, I was like, okay, I am getting in that knitting funk again. I don't know what to do. And I just lost all motivation to do things. So I did something that I don't do, that many of us knitters don't do, and crocheters. I made a swatch. And then I made more swatches. And making those swatches gave me an opportunity just to test out the quality of yarn that I was using, to also figure out the math that I needed to do to see whether the yarn I was envisioning would actually work for the project. And then finally, just to give myself a break from the project that I was working on that wasn't engaging me in the same way. And so I did successfully complete, I guess this is a good transition into my finished objects that I'm giving you this overview. I did successfully complete my Frame Your Face cowl by Maehrer. This is a colorwork, all over colorwork cowl. That's a 26 row repeat. It is super duper easy. So if you are looking for your first colorwork project and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do, this cowl is it. It is currently wet blocking. So I'm going to bring you along so you can see how I do my wet blocking. Here you go. That's a little tidbit of it. It's really beautiful. I will do my best to insert some pictures into the video or somewhere. And if I am unsuccessful with that, because like I said, life happens and I'm able to record this right now because no one's home, but that can change in a moment of seconds. So I'm going to rearrange the camera. Perfect. So with this particular cowl, the reason why I decided to cast it on, because my sister-in-law is coming with me to Rhineback. And as for those of you who are familiar with some of the activities at Rhineback, Emery has been doing this annual cowl for a few years now, where she and other knitters will meet on a hill to celebrate their finished objects and the success that they had with it. And so last year I had hoped to participate in this when I went to Rhineback for the first time because I had my tessellated vest. However, I wasn't completed with the tessellated vest. I was still working on the front or the back. I can't remember what portion of it, but I was making progress, but not enough where I completed it on time for the event. And then this year I was like, I am going to do it. I had plans to do it. And I am not going to bore you with those details. You can even watch my previous videos. Essentially, I was not successful with my attempt to do the frame sweater and ended up taking what version I did and turning it into a cowl, and then later finding out that Emery produced the cowl and invited people who made the cowl to also participate in the meetup that she's doing at Rhineback this year. So my sister-in-law will have her cowl so she can stand and have pictures with us, as well as myself and my other knitting friend who's coming with us. But I'm going to talk more about Rhineback in a little bit. So that particular project was ongoing and it was engaging. It was fulfilling, but it wasn't getting all of my knitting mojo. And then I had took a moment to realize like I had no garments on my needles. I only had the cowl. I had a hat. I have a hat, I should say, because I'm working on my Oslo hat using this beautiful Suri alpaca, which I'll talk about in a second. I have my socks. And that was it. Those were the 3 active projects that I was knitting all last week. And so I decided that I really wanted to cast on a garment, but could not decide. When I say I could not decide, I could not decide. I was so indecisive. I'm like, maybe I should do this raglan. Oh no, I did start this one. Oh wait, did I start that project correctly? Like I went all down the rabbit hole of projects that I forgot that I had cast on, projects that I had planned on casting on. I had the the yarn all in a bag ready to go. But anywho, didn't work itself out. And I found that I could either obsess about what I could and could not do, or I can take some action steps. So the first thing I did, I'm actually going to show you wherever it went. Or maybe I'm not going to show. Oh, there it is. I decided to sit down with my journal. And so I am one of those knitters, or maybe just old school people who just need to write journals. Like journals are just like what I do. And so what I did was I sat down and I listed what are all the things I want to make. So I listed them out, and I even provided an explanation to myself about why I wanted to do those projects. Because again, going back and forth with myself. Then I identified what yarn I had hoped to use with that particular object and what type of garment I wanted. So through those reflections, I had this epiphany. I wanted an oversized sweater, and that the some of the projects that I was considering casting on, and even took steps to cast on, it was not going to give me that oversized fit. One project I was considering was the movement sweater by the designer. Her first name is Kate. Let me see what her last name is. Her first name is Kate. You can look it up on Ravelry. It's called the Movement sweater. It's a raglan, beautiful sweater. It has these eyelets that go all the way down the entire body of the raglan. It's worsted weight. It works up pretty quickly because it's 5mm needles, which is a USA. So definitely, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the pattern. It wasn't a pattern. Then I was like, well, I did buy the cinema sweater, so maybe I should do this one. And then I had forgot what yarn I was going to do it with. And then I remembered I didn't want that yarn. So like I said, I was starting to go down the rabbit hole again. So I came back to my journal and reread my notes. And my notes indicated that I wanted an oversized sweater, and that the movement sweater is not intended to be superly oversized. The cinema sweater is oversized, but it was DK weight. And with my past issues with knitting Veronica Lindbergh's patterns is that I frequently do not have enough yarn, that I can understand the pattern. Her patterns are well written, but I don't know why. I always underestimate how much yarn I need for her patterns. Maybe because I consistently get gauge, I'm not sure. So I was hesitant about casting that on with the quantity of yarn I had, or was considering to use, I should say, for the pattern. So now it's late. I mean, it was real late at night by the time that I was at this particular juncture. I'm like, I came to this realization, and I'm scrolling through all of my, like, how can I say, it's patterns I had in my library. And none of them were quite what I was looking for in terms of an oversized sweater. They were close, but not quite it. And then I remembered what inspired this desire for oversized knit sweater. I came across the Wednesday sweater by Petite knit. And not only do I want an oversized sweater, I want a black sweater. I also want a pink sweater. I want a gray sweater, and I hope to make a white sweaters too. So those are all my ambitions for knitting a sweater. So I'm getting it right now. The Wednesday sweater by Petite knit is a oversized raglan sweater that you start knitting flat. And I don't know how it's going to, no, it's not raglan, it's drop shoulder, excuse me. It's a drop shoulder sweater that you start knitting flat, you do a trapezoid, and then after you're successful in knitting the required length and measurement for the trapezoid, you will then pick up stitches for the front, and then you will knit a specific amount, and then you will join it around, and then you go round and round and round until the body's finished, and then you do your sleeves, and then you pick up stitches for your collar. Dope, easy, can do this. Not only is the pattern super easy, but it allowed me to go deep into my yarn stash. Those of you who have been with me for a while, you know that I really want to take advantage of this beautiful cultivated collection of yarns I have that I bought with the intention of using. That's just been sitting there in my little bookshelves over here, over there, under the bed, in the closet. So I decided to go ahead and cast this on. And I wasn't thinking I was going to get this engaged with it, but it sparked something. I finally felt that, I guess for the lack of a better word, spark to knit a garment. Like it's been a minute. I mean, like it's been a minute since I've done an actual garment with joy and desire. And I was casting this on and I was like, is this doing it? So the yarn I'm using is my drops yarn. So back in the day when I first started knitting, and when I say back in the day, 3 years ago, when I first started knitting, was it 3 years ago? Yeah, I'm 43. Yeah. So 3 years ago, I went on this shopping spree on Wool Warehouse. My husband had gifted me some money for my birthday, and that's been his thing for the past couple of years, just to give me money so I can buy the things I want, because he's not very good at picking gifts, but that's another story for another day. So I get the money and I was like, I am going to really use this well. And I went on Wool Warehouse, and with each pattern in my Kim Hargrave's book, I had picked out a sweater's quantity of yarn to go with that. Wool Warehouse drops yarn is very inexpensive. And by the time I successfully added to my cart all of the yarns that I was hoping to do, and I picked about 5 or 6 patterns. I know it was definitely 5, but I think it was also one more. But after I successfully picked out the sweater quantity for about 5 or 6 patterns, I did all the math, and for that was when I was really good at doing the yarn math. I've gotten lazy over the course of time, or complacent. Anywho, did the math, purchased the yarn, and had a huge amount of drops, brush alpaca and brown and white. No, I didn't have it in white. Yes, I did. I had it in a cream color. I had it in white. I had it in a beige. I had it in black, because they were having a sale on it too. I think I also bought teal. So I bought a ton of brush alpaca. Then I bought Flora. Then I bought their Nord, Nord. What else did I buy? I bought their bouquet version of yarn, and I think there was one more. Oh, their merino, their baby merino yarn. So I had a huge variety of different yarns, different fibers to interact with. I had done nothing with any of those yarns. I then said, you know what? Maybe it's because I don't have enough mohair. So then I went online again on Wool Warehouse, and fortunately they allowed me to add to my order, where I added black kilt. I added like this black gray variegated color of mohair. I added a maroon, a pink, a white, a cream. What was another color? Gray. Oh man, me and gray. It was, yeah, it happened. So I had so much yarn from their their online store. And it has been sitting in this yarn room unused. I've used it, when I say unused, meaning that I didn't put it into an actual garment where I finished it. I've used it to fill in like little things here and there for other garments, but never fully committing to a project using that yarn entirely. So this is the first time I have ever picked up my Wool Warehouse yarn collection that I purchased 3 years ago to make a garment. Yay! So I am making the Wednesday sweater by Petite knit using my black brush alpaca. Yeah, brush alpaca. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm also using the Flora as well. Am I using Flora? Yep, I'm using Flora. Here it is, in the color black. And I went on Temu, which don't do it to yourself, because you're going to buy things that you don't really need, like yarn. So I bought this black cashmere yarn on Temu. It's fingering weight. I feel like it's more lace weight, but it's categorized as fingering weight cashmere yarn, and it was on sale, so I bought it. It is ridiculously soft. I mean, I don't know how well you can see the fibers on this. Of course you can't, because it's not the greatest lighting in here, and it's black. So how can you see it? But it's very good, and I really am glad I made this purchase. At first I thought it was like wool thread, but you can tell that it has cashmere in it, and it's very soft. So I'm really glad I'm using this, because the Drops Flora, this is, wait a minute, let me tell you, I should have read it. Here we go. It is 65% wool and 35% alpaca. And so this is my yarn. The cashmere is my yarn, and the brush, here you go. The brush alpaca is my other. So that's giving me that. And I've heard from different podcasters, fiber people online and in person, that alpaca doesn't peel as much as 100% wool, specifically merino wool. And that's one of my hesitations about using my double Sunday yarn. I know that this is off topic, but I tend to ramble. So double Sunday merino wool is an excellent yarn to knit with. The stitches are well defined. It's easy to just manipulate the yarn. I sincerely love the yarn, but it pills like a son of a biscuit. I made my champagne cardigan using double Sunday yarn and the whole entire sweater, double Sunday yarn. I decided not to hold it with mohair because I wanted one cardigan without mohair on it. It is peeling like there's nobody's business. So I don't want to use my double Sunday yarn. I want to use it, but I don't want to use it, if that makes sense. So it will be used at some point because it's just sitting there looking at me. But right now I am using my Drops alpaca, and I am loving this. At first I was like, will I love it? But what is drawing me to it? First of all, my stitch definition is on point. I can't believe I can see my stitches. Can you? I hope you can. I can see my stitches. So that is giving me so much joy. That was like, okay, you're doing it, Rachel. And so that was making me feel so good. My stitch definition, and it feels so cozy. And all I'm thinking about are those frigid nights. Although we've had some mild winters here in Massachusetts. When I first moved here, I feel like I just brought the snow with me. It was like snow apocalypse up in this camp for a hot minute for like 2 years in Massachusetts. If I'm being honest, longer than that. And then I would say around like 2017, the snow count has significantly dropped. And last winter, we barely had any snow because at my house where I live, I've had like 4 inches of snow outside without batting an eyelash. Last year, I probably had less than half an inch total for the whole winter. So but it was also very cold. And I know that we're capable of getting those frigid, super frigid nights. And so this is going to be my cozy sweater that I wear when it's frigid outside, because I know it's going to trap that heat really well and it's going to keep me warm, and it won't make my neck itch. Like, it feels so good against my neck. And I do the neck test. I hope you do too, but I definitely rub it against my neck just to see. So my neck is a sensitive area, as well as my elbow, because with the Wednesday sweater, it is a turtleneck. And so my plan is, after I'm successful knitting the body and the arms, and because it is a lot of hem, it's a long hem, but it's a split hem. I'm hoping to pick up extra stitches around the collar. And my goal is to make the collar a little bit wider where it's not touching this side of my neck. So this side of my neck is where I tend to have the most irritation, and also right here. And so because those are like the 3 spots where I can get a little irritated, where I notice whenever I'm wearing a sweater, I will tend to, pull it away from my neck. So my hope is to knit the turtleneck in such a way where it's slouchy and it's not touching those particular points. I've thought about how to do this because I didn't want to pick up too many stitches where it will make it would throw the garment off, where it have like, what are those things, like ridges. So another idea that came to mind is possibly increasing in the round, like obviously pick up the appropriate amount of stitches, and then when I get to a certain height, start to increase just to make it more slouchy, and then knit it that way. So we'll see what I end up doing. I definitely think I'm going to do a twisted rib with this, because I really like that one. Although one of my knitting peers mentioned to me that there is an alternative to making your rib stitches more pronounced. So I'm going to watch the YouTube video for it. She mentioned it in our last online knitting meetup. And I just haven't had the time to actually look for that. So that is my Wednesday sweater. It's in one of my favorite bags to use. I don't know why I like this bag so much. Maybe because it's my deceased cousin's favorite color. My cousin Tanea loved the color orange. And unfortunately, I didn't know that orange was her favorite color until after she passed away. And her mom was telling me about that. And I was like, I don't know how that never came up in conversation, because she and I talked about everything. But I don't know. That was just one of the things. I think the last time we talked about our favorite color was when we were in elementary school. But anywho, I digress. I just really love this particular bag. I love the fact that it's drawstring, so I can do that. Also, it has pockets inside. I don't know how well it's going to show up, but it has 1, 2, 3. It has 3 pockets, 1 really large one and 2 smaller ones. It's perfect for your notions as well as holding additional yarn. And there's a lot of depth to the bag as well. And then finally, the bottom is super sturdy. And so I have had this on the ground, I've had it on my desk, and it's made it really, really easy. And my pens fit really well in it. So like I have this particular pen that I got from the yarn store near my job that I really love. This particular pen came from Gather Here. So this is one of my favorites. It was one of those last bags at a yarn store. And you know, when you see a bag that speaks to you, you might as well get it. I did it. So anywho, it's in that particular bag. So I'm really feeling this joy and excitement and motivation to knit garments. I'm still suddenly, considering casting on the Arctic Light. And then I was like, oh, my storm sweater I need to cast on. Oh, this sweater. Like, so all these sweater ideas are just like percolating in my head. And then I remembered you have one item on your needles. What are you going to do with that? So I remember the Emery vest. The Emery vest is a Hoagie Locatelli's vest pattern. And as I said in previous videos, with this particular pattern, not only do you get the vests, but you also get the sleeves for the same price as you would for her other patterns. I think that is so generous and smart of her to do because so many designers don't do that. They will, you know, charge you for each individual one. And I get it. People do what you got to do. So anywho, with that particular pattern, I was hesitant about continuing working on it. I was actually in the midst of trying to talk myself out of working on the project, if I'm being honest, when I picked it back up. And then I realized, like, maybe I can do this. And this pattern is not as bad as I thought, because when I say I was trying to talk myself, I was going down all kinds of rabbit holes with myself. So I'm glad I restarted this, and you know what, I'm really enjoying the pattern after all. And I was like, oh man, I love it. So here I am. I'm going to show you, I'm going to go panoramic. There you go. It is coming out so well. I'm about to actually do my cable cross for my next round. And I'm using my twice shear sheep to help me remember where to do the cable cross, as well as where to remember the plait is what she calls it. It's become more intuitive, and I am grateful for that, because at first I was like, I don't think I'm going to remember how to do this. In addition to me starting to internalize the pattern, I also realized that I can read the chart, but she also wrote out the chart. And sometimes for me, especially if I'm feeling fatigued, I can't always read the chart as well as I should. And so what I've been, especially for the moss stitch that's here in between the diamond. Here, let me try to get a little closer. Oh, focus camera. I'm sorry, it's not focusing as well. There you go. So there's moss stitch in between. And for some reason, I felt like I was messing up with that. And I tend to do that whenever I've done like the seed stitch or the moss stitch. And so having it written out has helped out tremendously. And it's helped me, especially for the diamond. So I've been using the written out version for the diamond, and I'm still using the both the chart for the plat, and for the cable, that one's easy. I know that at the 5th row is where I'm doing the cabling. I think it's 5th row. I could be off on that. I just know there's a particular row that I can do the cabling. But long story short, I'm back invested into this. However, as I was working on it last night, I realized I'm like, oh, this is going to take a minute. This is not something I'm going to be able to do within like a week or two, even though it's a vest. And so with that said, I have committed myself to every Wednesday and Sunday to work on this project. I'm always going to spend at least 1 hour, if not more, to work on this project, especially since I don't have any crochet projects on my hooks right now. I have made all the baby blankets for my coworkers, so I'm just kind of idling, waiting for someone else to tell me that they're pregnant. So that way I can make them another baby's blanket. There is a Tunisian crochet pattern I'm interested in casting on, but I haven't quite decided yet, and I wanted to finish some of my scarves because I have one more cowl that I need to make, but I'm going to talk about that later. So I am back to knitting my Emery vest. The Wednesday sweater re-inspired me to do this project. And so feeling this inspiration, I decided that I needed to stop obsessing about some of my yarns that I have, because I don't know if about you, but when I look at my collection of yarn, I feel guilty sometimes that I have not done anything with them, especially when I'm about to go on a yarn festival and I feel like I need to do something with these particular projects. So I identified which yarns I really wanted to use. I was so over the moon excited to use this Eddie Brower yarn I got from Joann's. It's this beautiful pink color. Here, I'll give you a little, see, isn't it pretty? I don't know why, I love it, and I think it's going to look amazing against my skin. I think bright colors really look well against my complexion, and so I want to start to use those more, make more stuff with that. but I also have this other yarn and I have this other yarn. So instead of just like, again, coming back to my journal, I sat down and I'm like, well, okay, what yarns do I actually want to use right now? Which ones I'm just like, keep thinking about and just like want to get a cast on. So I made a list of them. And so with, let me get to the page where I wrote it. Oh, here it is. So I made a list. I knew I wanted to make a purple. I knew I wanted to make a pink because I'm also a huge fan of purple. And I've already decided that with the purple, I'm going to make the freestyle sweater. So that yarn is all squared away and decided for. Then I was like, what about my pink Eddie Bauer yarn? And I was going to try to cast on using that yarn for my movement sweater because it's a lightweight worsted, or so I thought. I did a gauge swatch. It was not even close to what I would need for that yarn. For this, even the on the, what is that sleeve? There it is. They said 26 stitches. And for the movement sweater, I needed like 19 or 20. I think I needed 20. So it's like, no, for the size I need 20 stitches per inch. So I'm like, no, I wouldn't have enough yarn. It would just not work out. So instead of forcing it, I decided to put it on whole. And I did a swatch using this red yarn that I got from Temu. I know. I'm buying yarn from everywhere, y'all. So went on Temu, bought this red alpaca yarn. Actually, I have it right here. Yeah, here it is. It's beautiful. It definitely is giving me that Christmas holiday vibe. So we don't do big Christmassy things anymore. Since my mother-in-law passed, I noticed as a family, because my husband's family is huge here in Massachusetts, but since some of the elders have passed away, we're not getting together as much as we used to. So I'm like, oh, this could be a festive sweater to wear if we were to plan a family event, because my side of the family, we celebrate Thanksgiving. That's our like big get together. Let's all eat and talk and celebrate each other. And for Christmas, we try to do things with our smaller group because we are a big family. My family is huge. So anywho, I'm like, this could be a great festive sweater. So if my husband's side of the family does have a party, I have something to wear. And if they don't, I still have something to wear to celebrate the holiday season. So I just decided to go for it with this. And we'll see if I end up using this yarn. I have enough yarn to do this. And it's actually, I thought it was going to be more acrylic because when I first got it, I was like, oh man, this is acrylic. But nope, it is actually 95% alpaca, 5% polyester, and 5% nylon. So at least I know it's going to be a little bit more durable because it has that 10% other durability built into it. And I like the thickness of it. So I think it will work well with my movement sweater because it does call for more of an Aran weight yarn. So I'm excited to work on that. And right now the swatch is soaking. I'm going to let it soak. I usually let my swatches soak depending on how rushed I am to do the project. If I'm not feeling super rushed, I'll let it soak for a few hours. If I'm like, I want to do it now, I'll soak it for like 15 minutes tops, and then I'll pin it out and then do my measurement for it. So later on tonight, I'll dry it out and put it on the mat to dry out. And we'll see if I get gauge or not. If I don't get gauge with this yarn, I do have one more Aran weight yarn that I could potentially use. And if that doesn't work, it's the movement sweater is just going to have to be put way down at the bottom. I mean, like off the queue bottom. So that's what's happening. That Wednesday sweater inspired me to swatch up using this yarn. The Wednesday sweater also inspired me to start working on my socks again because I had promised my son I will make him his own pair of socks because he was trying to steal my green socks that I worked my butt off for. And I was trying to explain to him, I was like, listen, I did not want to do these socks. And now you're trying to take it from me, bro. But we came to an understanding, I think, where he will get his own socks. Now, my son plays soccer, and his soccer team is, yeah, I swear, this is like a different, plays on the soccer team, and their colors are blue and white. And I figured there's like this little gray undertone with one of his uniforms. And I figured this could be his after playing socks because he's always complaining about something. So I'm like, you can put this on and put some joy in your life. So I'm almost done with the cuff. It looks like, I thought I was done with it, but it looks like I need to do at least 2 more rounds. And I'm trying to make it identical to the first sock. And so far, so good. Although I still feel, and I don't know. I'm second guessing myself. I know I cast on 64 with this, and I cast on 64 using these needles, but for whatever reason, this seems like a wider cuff than this. And I did the same type of cast on. Typically with my socks, I hold I hold the two needles together, and then I do a long tail cast on, and I find that gives me more of a stretchier cast on. But for whatever reason, I don't know. I just feel like this cuff is a little bit bigger, so maybe we'll put it on this foot that's a little bit bigger, or maybe it'll shrink, who knows. I'm not going to stress myself about it. I'm not going to cast this on. I cast this on twice. I'm not doing it again. I'm using the Biscotte self-striping socks. I forgot the colorway with it, and I threw out the tag, because that's what you do, right? But when I saw this in Montreal last year, or was it this year? I guess this year, I fell in love with the colors. It's really beautiful, even caked up. This is what it looks like caked up. It's beautiful. It was beautiful in his Hank and his beautiful cast up, and knitting wise as well. So I'm going to finish the cuff. I cast on the second one, was working on it. And again, every Wednesday and Sunday, I plan to work on this as well, but I also going to work on it during his soccer game. So he has soccer practice. And so my goal is, when I take him to soccer practice, my husband and I decided to split it. One day a week he'll take him, one day a week I'll take him, so that way it doesn't feel like one person's doing it all. And for his soccer games, we both go to it. Fortunately, he only has soccer twice a week. I know that that's not going to be forever, but I'm enjoying it while it lasts. But anywho, while at his soccer games and practice, I plan on working on this as well. It's very, very comforting, especially when they're like in the middle of the game and I'm like worried something's going to happen. It gives me some like, a way to de-stress myself. So again, the Wednesday sweater just re-sparked that little mojo where projects that I was just sitting there looking at, like, I really don't want to work on it. I know I should be looking at the camera, but now I'm looking at this. But anywho, I was like, I know I need to be working on this project. I feel it, but I don't want to. I just rather just do something a little bit more mindless. And now I want to engage my mind and stimulate myself a little bit and take my mind off of certain things. So that brings me into the next segue to what it is I wanted to share with you all. So there was this opportunity at my job, right? I'm about to spill some tea. There was this opportunity at my job. I mentioned before, maybe I was a principal for a short period of time in my education career. And because of my family obligations and other personal reasons, I decided to step down from the role after being invited to continue to lead the school. And it was a very hard decision to make, because I wanted to, that was something I was pursuing as an educator. I had told myself, after 10 years of teaching, you're going to become a principal. I did that. And so I was on the fence about making that decision, but due to my own mental health as well as the needs of my family, and I was feeling so guilty about the lack of time I was spending with my son, especially my second son. I was just feeling like a piece of crap. There's no other way to describe it. And I felt like I was being selfish by putting my career before my family and blah, blah, blah. I quit and went back into the classroom and have been doing this for the last 6 years. This is my 6th year back into the classroom since being a principal. And this year, my principal at my current school, he got a job promotion. And we're like, yay, he's a dope dude. So happy to be working for him. And it's so wonderful. That's one of the reasons why I love the school I teach at so much, is that I work with people who have similar views about how we should teach, how we should interact with each other. We are very racially diverse staff as well. It's not just one and only. I'm not the one and only. I've been the one and only many, many times for some of my professional experiences. So this feels so wonderful to be at a school where I see people who have similar backgrounds as I do, not just with my racial identity, but also my education and where I grew up and so on and so forth. So anywho, he had this promotion opportunity, and the assistant principal is going to be moved into his position. And so my principal had said I should apply for the new opening for the assistant principal. And I was like, yes, of course, I would definitely apply for that. He was like, good, because that's what we're all pushing for you. I did not apply. I don't know what happened. I really can't. And I don't know what's going on up here. But I did not see in my email, because we usually get a weekly email every Sunday telling us about whatever job openings are within our school district. And then when I got my Sunday email, I did not see the job listed. And I kept telling myself, you're going to apply, you're going to apply. And so another week went by, still didn't see it. So fast forward to this week, I'm in a PD with my current principal, who's about to be promoted secretary. I'm sitting there about to freak out because I didn't have my knitting with me. I was like, she's like, well, Rachel, we're interviewing this week for the assistant principal role. I was like, what do you mean you're interviewing this week? I didn't think the position had posted yet. She was like, oh no, it's been posted. I'm like, when did it post? She was like, it posted almost 3 weeks ago. I'm like, it did not. It did. I went online and sure enough, it posted on September 18th. Now, did I feel like an ass? There's no other way of describing it. So I went ahead and submitted my application late, knowing that we're interviewing, and when I say we, our school is interviewing for the assistant principal. And I was feeling very dejected. I emailed the interim principal to let him know that I submitted an application and I respect his decision if he just chooses not to review my application. So how can I say this? I was feeling, how can I say this? You know how sometimes when you make a mistake, like I made a mistake of losing my passports and my son's social security card. I put it in a safe place, but can't remember. I made the mistake of losing my dog tags. And this is my third mistake. I had an opportunity to float out this idea of leadership, because I know I'm a natural leader. I know I'm capable of leading, but I'm hesitant about doing it again because I'm afraid I'm going to get caught up in it and I'm not going to give my family the attention and needs that they have, or myself. And so I was feeling so dejected. I felt my mind start to go back down into the level of anxiety and depression. I just felt it. Like I felt it coming on. I felt those negative thoughts about who I am and about my inability to be successful, right? And as I was driving home, and I mean, when I say I was feeling despondent, I could not even smile when I saw my sons. And I never, ever have seen my sons and not smile, even when they've done something where I'm like, "Grr." My babies put such a smile on my face. They are the best blessing I have ever had in my life, and I'm so grateful to God for them. Anyhow, I digress. I had an even hard time smiling and interacting with them because I was feeling that level of dejection coming on. So this car is inching to get in front of me, and I was like, go ahead, dude, just go. And on the back of his car, he had this bumper sticker that said, don't worry about it. And I don't know about you all, but for me, that was a sign. Because I've had signs like that in the past, where when I was leaving this beautiful tropical location in St. Croix after we did this horrendous hike, there was a sign when you got back on the main road that said, all blessed be. And so me seeing that sign, ever since I've seen that sign, it's empowered me to continue to move forward in life. And so seeing that sign on this man's car, it was a huge, like the words were clear, it was big block letters, don't worry about it. He wasn't driving a car that had different messages on it. It was no other sticker on the back of the car. He was also, like, the name of the taxi company that he was working for was on the door of the car. But on his bumper sticker was, don't worry about it. And that eased my I don't know, that helped. That definitely eased my anxiety that I was starting to feel, overwhelm me, because I knew I was getting criticism from people for not applying. I was like, why didn't you apply? And it's like, ugh. And I was just starting to second guess my ability to, I'm like, well, maybe I can, if I can't even do it, if I can't even go online to properly submit an application. When I say I was going down a rabbit hole, I went. So seeing that sign was such a wonderful opportunity just to say, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. There are some things that you're going to know for certain how to do it and what to do. And there are some things are just out of your control. And this was one of those things that were out of control. I checked my email, did not see it, and I stand firm with that. I know when I see things, whatnot. I did my very best to scour around my house looking for my passports and my birth certificate, and my son's as well. Can't find it. I did the very best I could. I'm going to replace it and call it a day. I did my very best to find my dog tags. I have zero idea where I place them. It is what it is. So I have come to a realization that I can beat myself up about the things, or I can just let it be. So I'm letting it be. And my career is going to continue to go down the path that that is supposed to go down. And if I truly want to be in a leadership role, I can go after a leadership role, or I can continue to enjoy the opportunity to lead my classroom, to teach AP African American Studies and AP Gov and AP US History as well. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just not going to worry about it. And that's what's, I've also, thank you for listening, if you're still here, listening to me share this life experience. And yes, it does connect to knitting, because I was able to put that positive energy into, because that same day I saw that sign was the same day I got the epiphany for the Wednesday sweater. And so that just, like, I was able to sit there and knit the Wednesday sweater. And then I was able to pick up my other knitting. Like, I don't know, this burden just like kind of left my shoulders. It was like, you know what, things are going to happen. I'm going to figure it out. And if I don't, I tried. So yeah, that was a very long-winded way of saying my mojo's back to knitting garments, and I'm not going to worry about whether or not I'm using all the yarn in my collection. It's going to be used at some point, and whether it's because I'm donating it to someone else or selling it to someone else or using it in a project, my yarn is going to be used. I'm not going to worry about it. Just going to go with it. If I can't figure it out in the time I allotted to figure it out, I'm going to have to let it go. Same thing with my professional career. My career is dope. I am very proud of the accomplishments I have made. I have co-authored a textbook. I have led a school. I have launched AP African American Studies. I have met some of the most incredible historians. I have educated so many amazing young people. I'm good. So I am like, I'm just going to keep trucking along to Rhineback. So now that I'm like, whoo, I'm super excited about going to Rhineback this year. And this year I'm going big. First of all, I'm leaving on Thursday. And so I already took off from work. I already told my husband that he's picking up them children. And I am driving to Rhineback with my sister-in-law and my knitting friend. And we're going to take my husband's car because it's bigger. And so we're going to ride out in style because he keeps that car immaculate. So I'm like, yes, there's not going to be any random Cheez-Its or nuggets in the backseat of the car. It's just going to be a normal vehicle. So I'm really excited about that. We are going to be able to listen to our podcasts and our audiobooks uninterrupted from our children. So we're all excited about these opportunities. So on Thursday, we're leaving here and we're going to go to Pick Up Every Stitch in Mount Kisco. I think we're going to get there around like 2-ish. And so we're going to hang out there for about no more than 2 hours, because the store, I believe, closes at 4. And then where Mount Kisco is, the store, it's about 20, maybe 30 minutes from our Airbnb. So then we're going to drive to pick up food and other necessities. And then we're going to go to our Airbnb, hang out there, then go to dinner or eat there at the house. We haven't decided what we're going to do on Thursday. And then on Friday, we're going to several events. We're going to go to, first of all, we're going to sleep in. Second of all, we're going to have a great breakfast. And then we're going to go to Cake Palooza. We have our 2-hour ticket time there. And then we're going to leave Cake Palooza and then go to Indie Untangled. And then after we finish with Indie Untangled, we're going to have a snack. And then we're going out to dinner. I'm really excited. We were trying to go to the Woolen Affair, but I didn't buy the tickets early enough. It's fine. I went last year. It was beautiful. Had a great time. I'll be all right not going this year. So we're going to go to our own dinner, have a wonderful time, hopefully talk about the different things that we got. I know my sister-in-law is not a knitter or crocheter, but she will find something to buy. I just know this woman. So that's what we're doing on Friday. And then Saturday is when we're doing our yarn/wine shopping because that's what ended up happening last year. My goal while I'm at Cake Palooza is to buy a bag from Black Pearl Magic. I know I already have enough of her bags, but just in case she did a special one for this year's Rhineback, I plan to buy that. While I'm at Indie Untangled, I'm hoping to get a pair of self-striping socks. I've really enjoyed knitting socks in that particular yarn. And so I'm hoping to find some there. There's a variety of different yarn dyers. I really just want to explore. I've never been to the event before, and I hope to leave with just a sock quantity. of yarn. And when I say swap quantity, like 1 or 2. At Pick Up Every Stitch, I got a gift card that I won in a raffle. And so I hope to pick up my Clinton cashmere yarn. I have enough of my gift card for 2 skeins of that yarn. So I'm going to purchase that. And I'm also going to see like whatever meets my fancy, because I have been at that store and it's incredible. So if I leave there with at least 1 sweater quantity, I am not complaining. So that is what's happening at those 3 events. At Rhineback in itself, I hope to buy yarn for the Bloom sweater. It's a sweater by Rachel Lipsey. It's an all over colorwork sweater. It's absolutely stunning. And I've been eyeing this sweater for years. And it's one of those, it's an epic make. It's not one of those I'm going to be able to make in 1 or 2 months or even 3. I definitely feel that this is going to take me a full-on year. So my hope is that in January of 2025, I will be casting on for that particular garment, and that by January 2026, I will have it finished. And so that is what I am doing. That's 1 sweater quantity I hope to purchase for. And then I hope to locate yarn, just a beautiful rich gray. As you can see, I'm in my gray phase right now. I was in my purple phase, but now I'm in gray mode. And so I plan to do my braids in gray too, because I have white and gray in my hair. I know you can't see from this distance, but trust me, it's there. My sons love telling me like, gosh, mommy, another gray hair popped up. It's like, thank you. You're so kind. So anywho, I really want a beautiful, rich color gray yarn. I have some in my collection, but nothing that I'm really, truly gravitating towards that I want to make something with. So I'm hoping that I can find something for that. The project I have in mind is the Lintho sweater, although I do have backup yarn for bare naked wool if I'm unable to find anything there. So I would love a sweater quantity of gray yarn, either a DK or worsted weight. I would also like a sweater quantity of DK yarn in any color because I want to make more lightweight sweaters. I found that worsted weight sweaters, which are beautiful and easy to work with and works up really quickly, my body temperature is just not conducive to that. I tend to get overheated when I wear sweaters that are made with worsted weight. And so my goal is to buy more DK weight sweaters. So I would like to buy a sweater quantity of hand-dyed DK weight yarn while at Rhineback. And then finally, I also would like to see what Neighborhood Fibers has. Last year I had a really wonderful experience buying yarn from their stall. So I hope to go visit them and to buy at least 1 or 2 skeins of yarn to make the mud cloth. It's this cowl. Again, this is not a project that's going to be done within like a month or 2. The designer, his name, I cannot remember, but I will have this in the description. But it's a beautiful pattern. It reminds me of African print. And so I'm hoping to buy a quantity of yarn from Neighborhood Fiber because that's the yarn he used for that. In his sample, he has it in this beautiful like light gray and blue, which I might make that that color. Or because I definitely love blue and gray together, hence the socks yarn. But I'm also considering other colors too. Neighborhood Fibers has some really beautiful colorways, and so we'll see what ends up popping out to me. Probably end up getting pink and green because that's the other. I seem to be gravitating towards those colors too. So we'll see while I'm at Rhineback, but those are my shopping goals for Rhineback: to go to Pick Up Every Stitch, to go to Cakepalooza, Indie Untangle, and then go to the Fiber Festival as well. I am not going to do as big of a haul as I did last year. Last year I bought a significant amount of yarn that I'm still trying to figure out what to do with. And so this year I'm hoping to be a little bit more intentional and more purposeful with yarn, not just like, ooh, I like it. Ooh, I like it as well. Like, yeah, so that's my hope. And then on Sunday, our goal is to sleep in as late as possible and then hit the road and come back home to whatever chaos or lovejoy that we're going to experience when we get home to our families. So those are my plans for Rhineback. I'm going to let the yarn speak to me while I'm there, so to speak. I don't want to go in with with too many plans because I have in the past planned for something and end up going completely rogue or plan for something and then change my mind once I got home with the yarn. Hence the reason why I have so much Sanders Garn's Line. I have about 15, I think 15 skeins of that particular yarn, because I keep buying more of it in the same color, mind you, for different projects, and forgetting that I already had a sweater quantity of it. That's how I ended up with 15. But anywho, another story for another day, I suppose. That is it. About what my plans for Rhineback. In terms of what I'm listening to or watching, I'm watching a ton of documentaries. I'm about to watch a quick documentary about the Stono Rebellion, because I'm about to teach that. And so I like to refresh my memory. So I like to reread and watch historical items in order to refresh my memory, and just to take notes. And sometimes I learn something new, which is something that happened today. For example, a new fact to share with you all that I thought I should share. Let's see. No, that wasn't it. I already knew about her, but I forgot her name. Oh, well, maybe you don't. Susie Baker Taylor. She was an enslaved woman who was able to liberate herself, who was able to write a book about her experience at a contraband camp, which was also created under the Confiscation Act during the time of the Civil War. So this was a woman who not only aided people in their ability to become literate, but she also aided the Union Army in other areas as well. And she captured her experience in this particular book, just to highlight for people to understand what it was like to be a formerly enslaved woman who is now on the quest of liberating herself. And when I say liberate herself, I don't just mean not having to be in that forced labor, but liberate herself to not only expand her understanding of the world by exploring these new areas with the Union Army, but also educating other people and interacting with them, and slowly but surely gaining this sense of agency and demonstrating her skills and her intelligence that was so often doubted by so many people who lived here in the United States. So that was a refresher for me, because I knew about this woman. I read about her last year, but for whatever reason, I did not note her in my notebook. And so this year I decided to make sure I took note of that so I can remember it in future lessons with my students. So I'm really excited about that. I'm also excited, and next week I hope to share pictures of it. My students, maybe at the end of this video, I will be able to post videos. I will be able to post pictures of it. So my students learned about David Drake, or are learning about David Drake, I should say, and about quilting, the quilting that was done by enslaved people. And so I mentioned weeks ago that, well, was one of the reasons why I gravitated towards the frame, frame sweater and the frame your face cowl, because of the pattern reminded me of the quilt that students have to do an analysis of in AP African American Studies. It's called it's this red cream colored quilt, and I would try to insert a picture of this. It's a lot of attempts to do this, but anywho, I got inspired by that. So not only are students sculpting on their own, and it's going to be glazed, they're also are making quilted squares too. So I am over the moon and excited about the collaboration with the art department, as well as with the Fiber Arts Club at my job, to do this activity with my students. And I've also decided that I'm going to do an activity about dumplings, because dumplings is a cuisine that is famous in the South. It's also famous in Jamaica, and it's famous in several Chinese dishes. And I thought it will be a wonderful opportunity to explore its historical origins with students, and have them make a determination about its connection to the African diaspora. So I'm looking forward to doing that activity with our culinary department at our school. And then what else am I doing? That's it. I'm not going to bore you with that. You don't care about what I'm doing. Maybe you do. I don't know. But nevertheless, I'm really excited about those two ventures I'm doing with my AP African American Studies students right now. So right now, I am not reading anything out of the ordinary. I am going to reread portions of 400 Souls, because there's some parts of the text that are relevant to what I'm going to be teaching. I'm also rereading parts of the 1619 project, again, because it's relevant to what I'm going to be teaching to my students. So in terms of reading for pleasure, one of my coworkers told me to read this book called On Beauty. I forgot the name of the artist or the author. I will, again, link it in the description notes. I'm gonna have to make a note of all the things, so I'm gonna link in the description notes. Yeah, but anywho, I'm knitting. I'm going to start reading that tonight because I finished my other book. What was it? The Assistant to the Villain, which was entertaining. You need an entertainment. So I'm going to check out this other book and see how good it is and let you know. But anyway, y'all have listened to me, hopefully, for the past 50 or so minutes. And so I'm going to bid you farewell. And thank you so much for joining me and listening to my rambles, my tea spilling, as well as my epiphany that, you know what, don't worry about it. So I will close with that. Don't worry about it, and have a beautiful, blessed day. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you the next time. If you want to like and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. And then finally, if you, for whatever reason, I can't figure out how to turn the comments on for this. So if you have feedback, or if you want to just share your experience or questions or whatnot, feel free to DM me on Instagram, because my Instagram handle is going to be there. Or you can also message me on Bavarie as well, because my Bavarie information is there too. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good day.